Hey, how's it going? Mr. Bill here, and welcome to the Velocity plugin tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll obviously be talking about Velocity. So we have this XY axis here up in the top left-hand corner of Velocity, and the X-axis or the horizontal axis equals the incoming velocity, and the Y-axis or the vertical axis equals the outgoing velocity. And essentially what this plugin does is alters incoming MIDI note velocities in controlled or random ways. So we have this operation control here, which gives us the option of velocity, release velocity, or both. Velocity, also this can affect note on or note off messages. So velocity is affecting note on messages, release velocity is affecting note off, and both affects both. So by default, I believe it was on both. We just replace this. Yeah, by default it's on both. Okay, so then we have a out low and out high control, and these control the velocity output from 1 to 127. So if we have an extremely low control and we play that, we get nothing, and you can see this LED blinking. It's telling us that our velocities are too high to go through. So we're telling it to play low velocities. So let's just create a MIDI clip here and change the velocities. I'm drawing this line really quickly by holding Command and just drawing a line over the velocities like so. So we've got some sort of velocity changes happening, and operator is set up to react to that. So we have it out low and out high, so we can kind of tell it to play all the same velocity if we create something like this. And we can alter the dynamics with the out low and out high control, so we alter the dynamics of how quiet and loud notes are, or depending what you have your velocity set up to do, you can tell it to do all sorts of things. We then have a range and a lowest control. So again, it's similar to the pitch plugin and similar to the scale plugin, where lowest kind of tells us what's the absolute lowest velocity that we can trigger, and range is how far from that lowest that we can trigger. So if your out high, for instance, is set to 0 and your out low is set to 127, this changes this line on the diagonal from one side to the other. So what this is going to do is it's going to make all the really soft notes really loud and all the really loud notes really soft. So if we bounce this MIDI down into another MIDI track, let's go take the MIDI from operator and just render that. So they're all the same notes. However, if we inspect the velocity, so I'll get rid of this, look at the velocity. So well, actually here, an easy way to do it would probably be just to go from high to low like that, and then render that, and it should be the opposite. So if we now look at the velocities in this clip, you can see that they start high and they go low, and in this clip they start low and they go high. So that kind of proves that putting the out high and the out low at opposite values switches what velocity is doing. So depending on which mode is selected, here we have clip, gate, and fixed, and depending on which one of these is selected, it can change what happens when MIDI notes are beyond the range of the parameter. Beyond this range parameter. So we have clip, and this clips incoming note velocities so they stay within the range. And then we have gate, and gate removes incoming notes if their velocities are out of the range. So let's say that the range is 20, so anything louder than that will be gated. So it just turns it off. And clip will clip the incoming note velocities to stay within, like so. And if we have fixed, let's just switch out high and out low again. So clip, after it gets over 20, it just it leaves notes. Clip after it gets over 20 velocity, it just makes everything as loud as it can possibly be, so it stays over the velocity. like so, and gate just gets rid of them. And if we have it on fixed, out high then defines all the outgoing note velocities regardless of the incoming note velocity. So here we have a bunch of changing velocities where it starts quiet and goes loud. However, if we turn fixed on and have out high at 127, they'll just all be loud, like so. And here we have random, and this just kind of adds a random element to all note velocities. So if we turn this up to 64, that'll just randomly change stuff. And let's turn this on clip. And then we can just render this and have a look at it. So we get this. So they're all kind of just different. And then we have a setting called comp, and this stands for compand. So what a compander is an expander as well as a compressor. So this basically expands and compresses the curve to create a more complex curve. So if we bring the randomness down and bring the range up and then hit compand, you can see it starts to create a bit of a weird curve. So notes will just kind of start snapping to velocities like that. So if we record that, so half the notes are kind of at one velocity and then they go to a bit of a different velocity and then they kind of just go really high again, and that kind of just matches what the curve looks like in velocity. So if we have a look at that, the curve kind of just jumps up in the center and gets really loud, and that's kind of what it's doing in here as well. It's quiet and then it jumps up and gets really loud. And you can go in a negative value as well. And then drive pushes all the values in the curve to extremes, so we get something like this or this. So you can kind of look at the curve in velocity and get a feel for what it's going to do to your notes. So if we inspect that, we can see it's kind of got a ramp curve happening, and that's kind of what it looks like in the velocity plugin. So anyway, that's what velocity does. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about it, feel free to email me at mrbill@mrbillstunes.com. Cheers.